Welcome everybody to another thunderous episode of Throwback Thunder ThorsDay, where we look back at the old, the retro, and the forgotten figures of our childhood. So slap on an Energon star, we're going back to 2004's Transformers Energon. Now, first and foremost, for the record, I personally enjoyed Energon, although it possesses its fair amount of flaws. You could say that it nodded the G1 Fedora a multitude of times. And I mean that a multitude of times. The designs of the characters, and, well, most noticeably, the Megatron slash Galvatron design of Transformers Energon, looking very similar to the Generation 1 Galvatron. So, if you don't know, this is Perceptor. This is actually a combiner minicon team, which is composed of Highwire, which forms the head and shoulders. I don't think he has any dandruff, though. And, well, if you really want to, you could actually make these his shoulders if it wants to cooperate. Now, I know there's multitudes of different ways of transforming him, but I always liked him like that because that kind of fills in a lack of shoulders, or in this case, shoulder pads. The Minicon Sureshock, which forms the arms and the torso, and there's no cats involved, so no Voltron pan right there. Hovercraft, which is Grindor, which forms the legs and the feet. Now we're going to go into their alt modes, then we will jump back into the combiner known as Perceptor. Now first, let's take a look at Highwire. He is a minicon that turns into a dirt bike. Now he does have some quite beautiful ball joints, and the thing is, they're still tight. They've still got just that right feeling for him. His head can go all the way back, and that's due to transformation, and they actually made a pretty clever use of that functionality with his head. You can see, an unpainted face on there, which is okay because, it's a minicon. Can do some good articulation at his arm. And so he can be like, "Yes, my lord." Can do a swiveling at his waist due to transformation. And can do full 360. Well, he can do full 360 at both shoulders. He does not have a hand, but he does have a wheel. On the other hand, he has a blaster, which looks like it is his exhaust. He can get some good bending at the knee, at the top of his thigh, and has some foot articulation. Really, really interesting take on Highwire. It's quite significantly different from his design from Transformers Armada, but when you compare the two, which I don't have the Armada one anymore. I had it a long time ago, and it is gone. Very, very gone. There's the back side of him, which you can see the Perceptor combiner head just chilling there. So that is him as he is, and that's all he will be, and that's all right, except he's a combiner, so I take that back. So let's go ahead and transform him. One more thing. I forgot to mention this. On his chest, wants to really come in right there, he does have the Minicon insignia. I figured that was, kind of an important thing to point out with its very, very well done molding for its age. And here he is in his dirt bike mode, and I can't get him to stay now. Stay, please, stay. His head turns into a kickstand. And there we go. So he does have some paint applications that kind of show more, and by that I mean the Minicon yellow insignia on his front. For what it is, it works. I mean, he can roll. He rocks and he rolls, and he does what he does. He's got white handlebars with his brakes. He's got black for the seat, and I mean, it's everything that carries over from the front of his legs in his robot mode. It works. It definitely works. I'm surprised that his kickstand's actually holding up for him now. Sometimes it doesn't like to cooperate. One thing with it is, like all Minicons, they had the power link gimmick, so his is on the top of his head, so you could, I guess, give it to Optimus or someone, whatever, I guess he would. What's funny, if you have the Transformers Cybertron Vector Prime, he does have Minicon ports on him, and that's because he comes with Safeguard, which is his Minicon. I always, for some reason, I don't know why, I'd always goof around and I'd plug him onto his wrist. So he'd have just a bike dude just chilling there. But it rolls. The wheels, the wheels function as wheels should. And, well, I would say for as old as this figure is, we don't get many motorcycle Transformers. Hey, we didn't even get Mohawk from the last night. We might get a studio series, but it's not a common thing. I mean, we've gotten RC, the RC triplets from the Revenge of the Fallen, and then the studio series versions. There were some others that they've done in the past, but it's not a common alt mode for a vehicle. You got your cars, your trucks, your occasional robotic dinosaur, but this is definitely one that is a very uncommon but a very welcomed alt mode. So let's move on over to Sure Shock very, very quickly. Now we have here is Sure Shock, and again, the alt mode, the character design overall, extremely different from Transformers Armada. But he does have articulation at the arms, and that is that's it. He doesn't have any other articulation. The feet I always thought were kind of wonky because, well, it doesn't like to stand, and it doesn't have a stand. And if it was JoJo Bizarre's Adventure, it still would not have a stand. I don't know how robots in that thing work. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have a lot going for it. And as you can see, there's the back, and it is lacking back. It does not have back. It does have back. It does have a back, but I mean, it's got some paint applications on the top, and then, well, that's the front of his alt mode, and he does have the Minicon insignia right there. But when I was a kid, I always thought he kind of looked kind of odd. Just the the structure of the figure. But yeah, he does have his Minicon ports on each of the top of his hands. I mean, other than that, I mean, he just forms like the main chunk of Perceptor. Does have paint applications on his eyes. I must say it's a almost like an off silver paint, almost like almost gold but not. So let's go ahead and transform him. And here he is in his ATV four-wheeler mode. And again, we don't see this as an alt mode commonly with Transformers. Again, you get your cars, your trucks, you get your jets, your planes, your boats, your robotic bats, your tanks, and occasionally your beast modes. But this is definitely a very unique alt mode, and it's cool because, if let's say Transformers were real, and you were at you're up camping and you see some little toys out there, someone left behind, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's definitely not a robot. That's definitely not an alien robot from a planet in the Alpha Centauri system. You would not think about that twice or thrice or quad. Get it? Because his alt mode. Now he does roll. Again, it's very unique alt mode. He's got gold paint for the seat, which looks like that'd be really uncomfortable to sit on. And if you've ever ridden one of these, you can only hope it doesn't have awful suspension, because, well, that just would kind of beat on you. He's, again, the gold for the front, Minicon insignia, orange paint, and, well, that's really all to it. But I've played with these so much since I was a kid, and everything's still extremely tight, and I really wish that these quality of figures were the same as what we're getting now. And if you saw my short talking about quality control issues, if you take, just for example, you take a Micromaster figure from the most recent lines and you compare it to these Minicons, it's almost embarrassing, I guess, kind of, because like the legs pop off. They're just, I mean, and by I mean this is no best example because of his wonky legs and his robot mode, but they hold up. They feel like they're just better. I know I kind of digressed a bit from that, but if you compare these Minicons to the Micromasters, as of the newer ones, not the G1 Micromasters, they're just better quality. So, anyways, back to the topic. These alt modes are very outstanding, and they're just not common, and that's what we need. We need more four-wheeler alt mode Transformers. So next we're going to move over to Grindor. So this is Grindor, and well, the original Grindor was a skateboard, and this is a alt mode hovercraft, part of the promised future, so they say. Still waiting for it. So this, what I like, and I wish that they would have done this with High Wires painted as visor, because they gave Sure Shock painted eyes, and they did Grindor's eyes. So he has a yellow visor and a black head. He's got a lot of silver on his chest, And he's got his little shoulder pads. His arms are on a ball joint, and he's got big, bulky fans for his elbows. So he can elbow people out of the way when he's, in line at, his local coffee shop. I don't know why he'd do that, but pretty sure he wouldn't. And then he's got fingers that kind of look like he could fire missiles if Tommy summoned him with the dragon flute. Minicon port right there on the middle of his chest. And he's got these little stubby feet, so he can, turn into like a 50s walking robot. He's got the fans on top of his feet, and they're painted a very vibrant orange. And on the back, he's got pretty much all of his paint colors from his alt mode. He's got silver, orange, and this blue. And that's really all the articulation that he has. He doesn't have much, but he has just enough. Let's go ahead and transform him. And here he is in his hovercraft mode. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about Highwire is that they did a larger version of Highwire for the Transformers Energon toy line that came with a large, somewhat large action figure of Kicker Jones, because Kicker Jones was always seen riding Highwire and also riding on the top of Grindor. And as you can see, it is a hovercraft. It's got like little headlights, or I guess it could be like blasters on the front, and flying around. This kind of makes sense to, I guess, like a futuristic take on like a skateboard, because he was a skateboard in Armada. But pretty nice alt mode. I guess he could also be a shield if you wanted to. Not to be confused with the Skyboom shield. And yeah, that's it doesn't roll because he's supposed to hover. Yeah, bad one. Okay, so we're going to call in the power of combination, and we are going to form Perceptor. So I present to you Jetfire, the Combiner of the Minicon Street Team. Now, the Combiner Perceptor was first introduced in Armada, then carried over to Energon, but with a different design along with the individual bots, as shown, bearing new designs. So, with the articulation, first of all, he does gain some length on his arm. It's hindered, but what you are getting is it's just this. He's a nice, really, really well done brick. Does have really good paint applications on his head. He's got the silver, and he has the orange visor that I wish Highwire had. He is the amalgamation of all three Minicons, so all those colors they blend well. The paint applications all blend well. They all accent each other. You actually get to see, there's Highwire on the back. It doesn't really have a lot of articulation. He can kick off to the side, and it kind of gets hindered, but it's really tight. The joints are all tight. Now, with his feet being like that, I actually leave them extended because it kind of looks like it gives him like some ankles, and if you really want to, you could say it's articulation at the ankle. The head doesn't really turn a whole lot because, it's kind of all connected to the back, but it is a very well done figure, especially for the time. Transformers Energon was a transitional phase from Armada into the more, I guess, cleaner designs of Transformers Cybertron. But some fun facts, these molds were actually reused for the Transformers Cybertron toy line with a patriotic color scheme, and Highwire's alt mode looked like Evel Knievel's stunt bike. It was also changed from the Autobot, well, from from the Minicon faction symbol, painted over it with the Autobot insignia. The mold set was also used for the Frenzy / Heavy Metal and the Wind Charger molds. No. Well, this is Perceptor. He's not the brilliant scientist, but he is a force not to be reckoned with. He is the representation of the bond between humans and Cybertronians. So, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd like to know what your thoughts on it are. What do you think of this blast from the past? If you enjoyed this video, like and share. I'd absolutely appreciate it. And, well, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on my social medias. Instagram at The Mighty Beastman and Twitter at The Mighty Beastman. If you also want to see some more Energon figures, let me know in the comments section also. I've got plenty, and I am more than willing to fiddle around with them and reminisce on the good times. And by the way, I got this from Kmart. That's how old this is. Kmart. If you don't know what Kmart is, well, it was a good place. Good place. Good times. Oops. Did you feel that? Alright, well, thank you for watching, and tune in next week for episode 10 of Throwback Thunder ThorsDay. See you then, and keep on rocking in the free world.